So good morning. It's a great pleasure to welcome you on our morning health talks. This is a small format we do each year, and we do it in collaboration with EIT Health, which is probably the largest health tech and health innovation related network in Europe, at least. I'm Sven Parkel. I'm the general manager at Tartu Biotechnology Park. And I will give you some small introduction for the day. This is the agenda. If you haven't yet checked it out in the web, what we plan to do is have a couple of keynotes that will help to set up the topic. Then we hear specific company experiences from Migrevention, from 7sense, and from Dermtest. And then we continue with the small panel discussion on the same topics. So if you have any questions, do we have also availability online to ask questions in the comments? So online, if you are online, then please add your questions or comments to the comment section. If you are here, then just raise your hand and we are able to provide you with a microphone. Continuing from here, I will just say a few words about EIT Health as a short introduction. So, as you may know, in this framework program, EIT its own is under Pillar 3 and has their own chapter. So, EIT actually consists of 9 different innovation, knowledge and innovation centers. So in addition to health, we have food, we have urban mobility, climate, energy, digital, and so on. And it covers European Union, plus a couple of other countries are involved as well. If we're talking about EIT Health, then this membership contains over 130 institutions. It tries to support the innovation throughout the innovation pipeline. Starting with early stage students and researchers who want to figure out whether they want to be an entrepreneur or not, provide financial support with implementation, regulatory and reimbursement issues, and then help with scaling as well. If you want more information about EIT Health programs, then please go check out their webpage. There are different programs available, events and opportunities as well. And these are divided into different groups based on the maturity level of the person or then the startup. And the EIT Health impact so far has been so that they have supported over 2,500 startups. They helped to raise more than 1 billion euros. They have, this is from the business creation part, from the education part. They are also empowering citizens. They have established or helped to provide graduates over 43,000, and then supported several innovation projects, over 140 for innovation projects, and over 100 products or services have been brought to market with EIT Health help. And number of Estonian startups have been active in the EIT Health system as well. You see here a list or short overview of the companies who have participated in EIT Health calls and been successful in doing so. So if you want to learn more about that experience, then you can reach out to them. Probably in Estonia, you know someone in one of those companies. That's quite likely. And then there's also EIT Health Innovators community. You can also join this community in the webpage below. And if you want more information about what we are doing in Tartu Biotechnology Park or what EIT Health is doing, then please subscribe to our newsletter using that QR code. So what we will talk about today, just a couple of ideas and why we are with EIT Health supporting the innovation in Estonia and also in Europe in wider sense is that in general Europe needs innovation because if we're looking at the healthcare provision, more and more people are getting older, so we are looking at the problems that come with the elderly population. We know that path to market is becoming longer and longer and more difficult. We also know that there's more need for support in partnership between the companies and the clinical partners, but also support for companies in managing and understanding the regulatory pathway and also in their path to clinic. So these are just some of the topics I'd like to point out for today's discussion. And now we are moving on to the actual part of this day, and I'm happy to invite Daniela to join us. The floor is yours, and thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me. First of all, greetings from Berlin to Tallinn. I'm happy to be here today, and good morning to everyone. I'm the partner and co-founder from NG Corporation, and we are a company that we are helping foreign companies to enter the German market, especially with a focus on digital health. And today I'm happy that I can give you a fast walkthrough through 4 market entries in general. I really tried to put these slides together in a generalized way, but of course our focus is a bit more the DACH region, so you will have some specific examples for the DACH region as well. When we start to enter a new market, the entering has some requirements and needs a structured multi-phase approach to ensure your product can be scaling effectively. What do I mean by a multi-phase approach? I think you can see this here in the slides as well. We're working with some different phases, and we start particularly with the phase number 1 and the concept phase, where we check the regulatory requirements, some business models, the technical solution as well. And this phase is highly product specific. So we really take a look into your product. Then we jump over to a second phase. It's the technology acceptance phase, where we have a strong focus on the customer itself, so on pain points, on user acceptance, on the patient journey. And afterwards, there will be a pilot because you need to learn and to get feedback from these 2 phases, and you want to have this in real world and learn from these structures. And what you can see here also is that it's a circle. So a circle means that you learn from every step to another one and also backwards. And if you are happy with these results, with the getting ready for market results, then the commercial part begins, and then we start with the sales part. And the end of this process, on this not straight process, but circle process, we want to have, of course, long-term partnerships that are sustainable in the German healthcare market or in the DACH region or in every other market you want to be. And that's the goal for this walkthrough. And now we want take these steps a bit smaller, and I will give you a short overview what we are thinking about this. So a successful market entry begins by validating whether your product concept can be applied directly from your home country or needs adaptation to the new market. So you are sitting here, you are thinking about expansion maybe, and this means, of course, you will have a product that is quite successfully very good in your home country. But sometimes you need to change a bit in your workflows, in your processes, also in the regulatory phase, that it fits perfectly in this new market. And if we take a look into this product, the product-focused phase, then we have here 3 main categories that we are looking into. So first of all, there's this regulatory stress test. You see this whole acronyms here, the EU MDR, CE certification, GDPR, ISO standard, EU AI Act. And there are a lot of, or many more specific laws per country. And I'm pretty sure we will speak also in the panel about it a bit more and a bit deeper, and also in the second keynote. So I just want to give you one short example from our experiences in this regulatory landscape. We worked with a Norwegian company together. They created a software for hospitals, and they started with the GDPR, of course. And from Norway, they brought with them a one-pager for GDPR. And we worked then with university hospitals in Germany and created a GDPR contract with 36 pages. What does this mean for you? So if you are looking and want to enter the Norwegian market, for example, maybe you can skip some pages of your GDPR contract. And if you want to enter Germany, just add some more into your contract. The second bigger part that we are looking into is the commercial stress test. So we are looking into the business model, also some reimbursement opportunities. Maybe you heard about the DIGA certification. That's a specific certification for Germany where you can have some applications prescribed from physicians and psychotherapists that are then reimbursed from the insurance companies. You also need to decide what is the better way, the public one or the private one. And of course, you need to think about your pricing structure as well. And this can differ really a lot from your home country because there are other reimbursement opportunities, or maybe the private market is a bit stronger than the public one, and so on. So you need to really calculate what fits best for your product. And then there is this technical stress test as well. So you have to take a look into some new integrations that are needed, the data management. I also put here the decision on-premise or cloud solutions. That's really particular in Germany, a huge decision, because in Germany, the on-premise solutions are still number one solution. So they are still a bit afraid about the clouds, but we are working on it. And of course, interoperability is a big field as well. If you worked on all these parts on your product, you can jump forward to a next phase. That's the technology acceptance phase. So here we are very focused on the customer itself. And understanding technology acceptance begins by uncovering who truly benefits from your solution. This means you need to find out what are the real pain points from your stakeholders, from your customers, from the patients or workforces you are working with. And of course, your solution needs to fit. So what are the main things we are looking here into is the USP in the new market. Also, this can differ from your home country. Then the user journey, and this is really important because it should be as easy as possible for the patients or for the customer itself. And then you can find an optimal niche where you can start afterwards also with the scaling process. And of course, unmet needs to be identified. Then there's this really nice, so I have always a pleasure to do pilots and to jump into this phase, because then you get the feedback back from your users and real world feedback. So, but let me give you one really important statement that we are talking a lot about, is that pilots are not just about proving your concept, but they are the foundation for future scalability. So while you are planning a pilot, always keep the focus on using the pilot in order to subsequently scale it afterwards. What does this mean? So you will have 1, 2, 3 pilot partners on your side doing this pilot process. And of course, they want to be happy, and they should be happy afterwards. But it's really important that you work on adaptable workflows also for other institutions, for other hospitals, for other outpatient clinics, so that you can scale it afterwards. This can mean also that maybe not all of your pilot partners are 100% happy afterwards, but you need to have this workflow that fits in the whole market and your whole target group, and not only to one particular partner of yours. And we are working here with a roadmap, 8 steps. Of course, we don't have the time today to take a deeper look into every step, but I really want to highlight one more. It's step number 6, especially important for startups because that's about the money and early monetization and future reimbursement. And one advice that we give startups by entering a new market is that you should look into this early monetization pathway. This means maybe take a look into the private sector first, how you could earn a bit money and what kind of workflows you can earn a bit money, and work on the reimbursement in parallel, but not at the first priority. Why? There are 2 reasons. First of all, you get, of course, directly a bit revenue back. You can work with this. And secondly, you can also prove not just only you, but also for the investors and future customers that your product is that good that people are willing to pay for it. And this means a lot by entering a new market. Then, after getting ready to the market or for the market, you can jump into the commercial part. Of course, also this part, the sales process, is a huge topic. So we cannot talk about everything about early sales today, but I brought with me one approach that we are working with in Germany. Why we are working with this approach in Germany so much, you will see on the next slide. But first of all, I want to explain it a bit more in detail. It means, or the name is the bottom-up strategy. So we start in sales processes directly with the real user, the actual end user. So this means also in a hospital context that we are starting with this person in this hospital that are really using your product by the end. Then we are doing a sales cycle, a sales process. You can read here with a 3-minute teaser, then a spin selling pitch call. We are doing a demonstration. And after this demonstration, this person in this hospital, for example, is your main ambassador for your product in this institution. So this person will be your best reference to go to the next step of the decision ladder and to pitch it from inside the hospital as well. And this route is somewhat a bit longer, but it involves less risk to don't lose this hospital completely in your sales cycle. So we have quite good, we are quite successfully with this approach. And why we are doing this in this a bit longer way is that success depends on understanding that every market operates differently. And Germany's healthcare culture illustrates this clearly. So you can see here on this slide that we put in some hard facts of the German culture, of the German sales culture, and the hierarchy in Germany, especially in the medical sector, is really huge. So we have a strong hierarchy, especially in medical sectors and in hospitals. And this means you cannot jump over so many people directly. You need to go this way step by step, because otherwise there will be somebody not quite happy and this can block your sales cycle. Some other hard facts are that the sales cycles are quite long. So this minimum 6 months is for hospitals as well. The outpatient sector is a bit faster. Trust is a critical success factor. You need to understand this culture of every new healthcare market. In Germany, it is especially trust that you need to build. And of course, also language and culture plays a big role. The Germans are, as I mentioned already, sometimes not that open-minded, some more formal. So you need to adapt in this early sales phase to this culture. And one more quite practical hard fact for you if you are thinking about Germany, for example. The budget for major investments is set right now. It's quite over right now, but in October and November. And by then the decision must be made. It needs to be done, and the bottom-up process must be completed. So you are working the whole year until October and November, and then hopefully the hospitals say yes to your product. Before I leave you or give up to the next keynote speaker, I just want to highlight again 4 important takeaways from today's session. So first of all, a successful market entry requires validating whether your product concept truly fits the new healthcare system. So step number 1, really concentrate on your product and take a look into the business models that you are using with it. Secondly, technology acceptance grows when you deeply understand your users. So take a look into your stakeholders, your users, what are the pain points here, and what needs your solution, or what answer needs your solution to give. And third, always design your pilot with scalability in mind. Don't do too many pilots. You want to scale afterwards, and don't try to make so many pilot partners happy, but you need adaptable workflows afterwards. And fourth, each market has its own culture and decision-making logic, and this is especially important for your sales cycle. Yeah, this is my short keynote for this day. And of course, feel free to connect via LinkedIn, via email, just reach out. And we can also have a quick look in a call together on your product and this framework that I showed you today.
Thank you, Daniela. That was a really nice overview, very structured view on how to enter a market. Do we have any questions to Daniela online or here in the room at this point? Yes. Trine, please. There's a mic.
Oh, thank you. Hi, question. You had a lot about certification and so on. What about like certification markings and things like TÜV? Like I did in finance, that it was so important to have that marking on your website because people would look at it and yeah, I can trust this place. What is it for health? What kind of things do you want to like showcase?
Yeah, definitely. So especially for Germany, this also has to do with this trust building. So if you have some certification logos on your website, this builds trust, of course. And I would say for Germany in particular, it's important to have something like the CE certification. And if you have it, really mark it on your website, if this was the question, for healthcare as well. If you need an MDR certification, for example, this is a bit more specific. You need to figure it out if it's really needed, because of course it takes a lot of time, also a lot of money. So you should definitely keep an eye on what you really need. But if you have some certifications, definitely mark it on the website for trust building.
Thank you, Daniela. Any other questions? Anything from online? In the meantime, maybe a quick question from me as well. So you mentioned that Germany as a market has specifics. So do you also, I mean, it's a large country. So do you see differences between different regions as well, or does it feel more or less like a unified market?
No, you are correct. It's a huge country, and we have different regions as well. So especially in the eastern part of Germany, there's often a bit less money that they are able to invest in technologies. And we also have there a difference in, for example, the understanding of the language. So especially in the eastern part, they are not really speaking English. So it's much easier for you to start with maybe the south of Germany, a western part. So there are also some differences, definitely.
Thank you, Daniela. We have a question from Silja.
Thank you for the great overview. And I have actually maybe not so much like a market access question, but more, I would say, like a broader question. Does Germany have some kind of specific support tools or some grants for the certification purposes, whether it's for their own companies or foreign companies, or like a targeted compliance-related support mechanisms? Thank you.
Yeah. Really, really good question. To be honest, often we also advise on Europe grants, EU grants, because I think there Germany really has a lack in to really have some grants to help foreign companies to enter the German market. There are sometimes grants, like right now, again, there's a grant for hospitals making, so that hospitals can get a bit money to do some new technologies and to implement it. But I think we need more of it. And often we advise to the EU grants as well.
Thank you, Daniela. So hoping to see you in a panel, and we'll continue there. Now, as Silja has done a quick warm-up with a question, I'll invite her to the stage. Here's the clicker for you. I will give you the mic as well, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, my question was actually from the organization where I'm now basically working for 3 weeks. So this is Enterprise Estonia, and I'm regulatory. I'm working there as a development manager for the certification and regulatory services. What does it mean? It actually means this, that in Enterprise Estonia, we are trying to figure out how we could support the companies in regulatory heavy sectors to come to the market faster. So this will be my task, to come up with a great plan how to assist them. Of course, we cannot do it alone. I mean, I'm myself alone. One person, yeah, I cannot help everybody to come up with a regulatory strategy, technical dossier, and apply to notified body. But in principle, the aim is to develop and design such a service line, especially for these companies who are getting grant from RUP, if you know this applied research program, so that they would, during the time when they are actually working on the RUP project, that they would be ready also, or closer at least, to the market access as well. Okay, so this is the background. Coming, a lot of people I know, we have met in different occasions, but well, yeah, now in this position. And today I had a difficult task, in a sense that 20 minutes to talk about something about regulatory pathways, considering that actually the products that the companies may develop are so different, then it's quite a question, like how to come up with something that would be practical. And then I thought that I would just show you what is the situation for the digital health product in European market. So basically, this is the frameworks or the regulations, or like categories of regulations that one digital health developer, whether it's MDR regulated product or no, okay, this we will come later a little bit, needs to face or needs to at least be aware of. We cannot go deeply inside of this stuff today, but here you can see that these are like these 4 topics that you always need to consider. So data laws, cybersecurity laws, AI laws, and medical device laws. And later on, if you will develop some high-risk MDR-based product, then health technology assessment regulation will be also available for you in Europe, but this will be later, as I think 2030 only. It was postponed a bit. But in principle, you need to understand that it's not like a one set of rules that you need to apply, or that you know that MDR exists and the rest of the stuff is not relevant. Basically, you need to figure out your route to the market considering all of these regulations. It's a difficult task, but you should just plan it ahead. And in addition of these are like EU level rules, this big bubble. Then we have these national rules that previous speaker was a little bit touching upon as well, especially in regard of reimbursement models. These are currently still really, really national, so 27 different ones. And then some stuff, maybe ethical committees and stuff are usually also local models. So how to go from there? I wanted to show also that this is the biopharmaceutical product frameworks. So if you're developing medicinal product or new drug, for example, so this is your this is your set of norms that you need to apply. I'm not really familiar with this stuff, to be honest, because I have been mostly working with digital health and software as medical devices in my life. But I tried to put together also this side. And here you can see the data, AI, genomic data laws, especially relevant for the beginning, for actually like digging out something, some new, I don't know, applicability or whatever. So, and also the AI Act provides a lot of possibilities for actually evidence generation for the biopharma sector. So it will be influencing the sector heavily, actually, not only related to the like how you bring the new drug to the market, but actually how you discover it. And there will be this data and AI and genomic data laws really relevant in this part of the development process. Then we have safety, quality, and biological material laws also. And again, you see that there are, okay, maybe one note. I tried to put at least in bold these ones that are now regulations. What is the difference, regulation or directive? Most of you, I guess, know that regulations are directly applicable and the same in all member states. And EU is generally moving to the regulation direction. So if 10 years ago we had mostly directives in this sector, in both medical device and biotech sector, then nowadays we actually have most of the stuff is on a regulation. So it means that it's a unified, it applies the same way everywhere in Europe, which makes it easier, but at the same time, while creating these regulations, actually the rules tend to become more stricter. And maybe the processes how to put the product on the market have become also a little bit more longer, because this kind of compliance process and revision and notified body processes and everything is more stricter, to be honest, than compared to the directive time of the year. So, so a little bit better, a little bit worse. And what I wanted to show you is that as we are in this EIT health event, then actually EIT has done a lot of work trying to help health tech and biotech companies. And they have used or have a cooperation with the CIMIT organization. And they have this kind of nice milestone frameworks that are meant for assisting the startups, basically developing their products, whichever product they are developing. They have like a specific chart for the digital health. So you can see that it's not only like a clinical or technology that you need to basically figure out during your development process, but you also need to focus on regulatory. So the third pillar here, the regulatory pillar. And what is good about these EIT frameworks is that they have basically it's only first page. There is actually second page as well. If you go to the link, you will find it. But they have basically made like on an innovation maturity level, like each step, and then what are the steps or what are the key things that you need to figure out at this particular time of the moment of your development process. I think it's like quite easily understandable. Of course, behind it, there is a lot of work that might be done and you might need an expert. I don't know, we have different experts in a room as well, but at least you would understand in which point of time you kind of should do something. The same stuff there is, for example, for biomarkers, they have developed a separate framework, and there are also for hardware medicine products. I think there was one, and I don't remember. I think diagnostics, laboratory diagnostics kit was also one. So actually, that if you develop any of such products, then here is a little bit of help for you. So if you think about your new product and what it is and where you are going, then quite often people tend to focus on technology. Of course, it's the most relevant stuff that if you don't have really like a working technology or working solution, then ultimately you don't go nowhere. But at the same time, you should also like think about your regulatory strategy, how to reach to the market. Because as said, most of these products require actually market access, some kind of market access authorization. Whether it's self-certification or whether we are notified body, but it requires some market access authorization. So therefore, you just cannot do this way that you develop and you put it to the market. It's quite simple, this kind of advice that you should first of all always focus on your intended purpose of your product or your solution. What is the main aim, the core aim of your product? And it doesn't really matter whether it's medicinal product, I mean new drug, like what is the main aim, the main function? Like or it's a medicine product, medical device, or is it AI based medical device? So, or is it just an AI and it's not even a medical device? But it's always about intended purpose. You just need to sit down and try to write it down, and from there everything actually starts. If you don't know what is the aim, then you cannot have like a regulatory pathway. So it's just doesn't work. Therefore, like the main aim is always like intended purpose is the key. It relates to the clinical evidence generation, for example. It relates to the classification, to the risk classification, to the safety assessments. So everything comes to this intended purpose. Or relates to this intended purpose. And then if you have figured out the intended purpose and core functionality, then you should at least try to understand what is the MDR, medical device regulation, or IVDR regulatory class. So is it the high risk, low risk class? And what is the AACT risk category? And then already you identify the markets where you will be, whether it's only EU or whether it's US, or at least some territories that you understand that which direction you are aiming to go, and the applicable regulatory frameworks. What are the main norms that you need to apply? And then second layer, I would say, is like what kind of standards you are aiming to apply. And what kind of documentation you need to actually compile while applying these standards. So these are also like a next step that you would figure out. And then you have this clinical and technical evidence. All of these actually comes either from MDR or IVDR or AIACT as well. So all of them require evidence generation. So you need to have some kind of evidence generation strategy in place. So mostly there is 3 categories: performance of your product, safety of your product, and clinical value of your product. So three things that you need to prove for different purposes, but or sometimes even for different legal frameworks. But actually, these are the 3 things that you need to be able to prove. Yeah, and then again, coming back to the intended purpose, you basically, this will give you what kind of clinical evidence you need, whether you need to actually have like a clinical trial or no, whether you can rely on a previously existing clinical evidence. It's not forbidden. There is no such rule in MDR that always needs to be clinical trial. There is no such rule whatsoever. It really relates to your product and whether there is clinical evidence available or no. And you can rely on competitors' clinical evidence if it's available to you. I mean, it's different for the medical device compared to the medicinal products, for example, where you cannot rely on competitors' well, how to say, like trial data, because it's you are forbidden to put the product on the market. It's a regulatory ban kind of to bring to the market competing products. But for MDR, there is no such ban. MDR is really innovation friendly. We don't limit competition like medicinal regulations are limiting competition actually. So what else? Yeah. So we have this quality management system requirement in some occasions. So this you also need to figure out whether you need to have ISO 13485, for example, for medical device development or no. And then certification and market entry route. Either if you are in a low risk class, I don't know, it's really rare, but in first risk class, in principle, you can bring to the market this way that you will certify kind of yourself, self-certification is the, but in most of the cases you still need to go through the notified body process. So you need to select it, you need to plan the costs, you need to plan your own resources for actually preparing the technical documentation, because the most difficult part is actually to find resources for the inside organization to work on all of this stuff. You cannot most probably rely only on external help. Okay, these are some challenges that maybe you know all, that what challenges we have. And then I wanted to show you that ACE is also having some different grants. And actually these grants, I went to work there, and then I was trying to figure out that are companies using these grants also for certification purposes, because there is no limitation to use it. It actually says that you can use it. And then I discovered that there were 1,400 or something these cases where both of these grants have been paid out, and only 23 times it was used for certification purposes. So, which is quite surprising, because everybody's saying that it's such a lot of work and a lot of money is needed and everything. But companies don't even use the possibility of applying for these grants and actually, I don't know, even doing like ISO 27001, like GDPR compliance could be used. I don't know why, to be honest. I haven't figured it out yet, like why companies are not using. I have had chance to not to talk to the health tech sector. Like there was not a single time that the health tech sector company had been using these grants for the certification purposes. But really, surprisingly, really active is Estonian building materials sector. They are using for certifying their doors, whether they are fireproof. For example, they use these grants. So really clever, I would say. And therefore, I'm asking you that you should check out also these grants. And the aim of my work will be also to review whether these conditions are such that some of the things are limited, or why it hasn't been used. Or maybe it's just that there is no knowledge that you can use it. This is also a question mark. So yeah, but in principle for health tech companies, really, especially this arendusosak, okay, you need self-financing 30%, but anyway, certification is quite costly. So even if you will need to pay 30%, then at least up to 35,000 you could apply for. And then it needs to be related to TAIE focus areas, but health tech is. And it's not suitable for the company, sorry, there is some error more, company quality system creation or upgrade. So you cannot actually build your ISO 13485 on the basis of that, or take consultation for building the quality system, but you can use it for some purposes. And I tried to list here some of the ideas or some of the small projects in regard of compliance that you could use this grant for. So basically, for this kind of feasibility testing, preliminary conformity assessments, also some risk assessments, for example, could be used. Why not? There is no limitation as such. cannot be used. This is really from the regulation that is underlying these grants, and it says only that quality standards or quality management consulting, it cannot be used. But this is a question mark what I put, so we need to go in there and actually try to understand how much or what exactly is limited there. Because why it's like this, it's maybe to explain. It relates to the state aid, that the state is issuing state aid while issuing these grants, and state aid cannot be issued for the general like business purposes, in a sense that and the quality management or quality management systems are considered business as usual. You should kind of do it. And these grants are meant for innovation. So therefore, there is a limitation. Yeah.
Documentation for accreditation and regulatory submission and all these things. Could we use it to hire somebody for grant writing?
Grant writing, no. Grant writing is not certification. Yeah. No. And then we have this applied research program, RUP. So basically RUP is like really, I would say, flexible in a sense that there you can use RUP money for actually prototype to validation to certification journey easily, because RUP is in the aim of the RUP is actually bring to the product as close to the market as possible. So if you plan your RUP project, although not so many maybe ultimately get funded, but there is no problem that you cannot go and do some prior certification work there, or even till the technical documentation is ready and you submit to the notified body, it's also possible. Okay. But yeah, the problem with RUP is not suitable for purely compliance updating tasks, yeah, on mature products. So it needs to be part of the product development process. It cannot be like separately. Separately, it might be, although here is also a problem a little bit. The separate application is difficult, only together with the product development. So what we are aiming now, as I joined, we aim to review this innovatsiooniosak, arendusosak, at least in this part, that are they somehow hindering the companies to use it for the certification purposes in at least health tech, biotech, and some more selected sectors that we have chosen? Or is everything okay and there is just a lack of knowledge that companies don't use it? Then the plan is to come up with this kind of support service line for at least RUP-funded companies. So there would be this kind of separate tracks. So currently it's like this, that the company gets the RUP grant and basically will develop their product or like do whatever they want to do during their project. And then they submit these meet reports to RUP. But in general, this kind of advisory part is not existing currently, at least in RUP program. And the plan is a little bit to extend the advisory part so that we would have like some kind of advisory. And as my part is this compliance, and also I'm responsible for the IP track development part. So then we think that it might be relevant to provide these RUP applicants or RUP projects, this kind of two separate tracks. So IP track is then a strategic IP roadmap creation till the basically filing it might be also, and also the network for that. And compliance track is then a regulatory roadmap and network, and how much we can provide. It really depends how we design these services. And then one other thing is that is kind of pending, or what I want to explore. These are like really still idea phase So don't take it like 100%, it's idea phase. These is external regulatory sandboxes. As you know, that AI Act provides the possibility to create the regulatory sandboxes. There are some developments in Estonia as well. There is this innovative product development or testing law that has been basically agreed upon. And the question mark is then how to make potentially the link from RUP, for example, to the regulatory sandbox as well, if such service is needed. So, okay. And then, and then maybe if you have another idea how we as a Enterprise Estonia can help you in regard of compliance, then you can come to talk to me. But as I said before, that we cannot really abolish or eliminate all these regulations that are existing. Sorry, this is not in our power. Yeah.
Thank you, Silja. Very, very nice overview. Do we have any questions to Silja from the room or from online in the comments? Until then, I would ask that in your new role, are you focusing mainly on the health and biotech innovation, or do you have to cover the whole spectrum that the Enterprise Estonia covers?
Yeah, sadly no, as applied research program is wider than health tech and biotech, then my time is not only like focusing on this sector, but my main focus is to design such a supporting service and consider also what kind of experts we need to bring in for different sectors. So this will be my task. So not only health tech and biotech, sadly, but this will be like where I'm most familiar with. So you can understand that this is my like hard topic. Absolutely.
Do you have one question? Can you say in 2 sentences, with the European health data space, do you expect the regulatory space to get a little bit better or to go far worse in the EU?
It's really difficult to say. In a sense of manufacturers, it will bring another CE certification obligation. It's relating to if you're developing a hospital information system, there will be another certification requirement. So if you only think about this, then there will be one extra certification requirement. If you think that this would provide you interoperability, because the requirement is mostly aimed for bringing interoperable data layer, then maybe it's a good thing. But we don't know how ultimately it will all fall into places. So, yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Silja. We will see you in a panel to discuss these topics further. So now I would invite Martin on stage to talk about the story of Migrevention.
Thank you, Sven. Yes. Perfect. Thank you, Sven. Thank you, everyone, and good morning. I'm happy to share with you the story of Migrevention. I am not the founder myself. I'm not a clinician also. But I am migraine sufferer, so I have that going for me. So, and also I've been with Migrevention now for 3 years, and that has been, let's say, from the business development side of things. This has been my work and my contribution as well when it comes to the market access and market exploration activities. I would start very briefly with the problem and the solution slides. I'll try to be very brief because I think when it comes to migraines and primary headaches, I think we all know at least someone who has them. It's a problem for only migraines. It's a problem for 14% roughly of population globally. In Estonia, the population study says 17%. We know that in UAE, for example, the number is up to 30 something, but there we suspect a bit of a methodological bias. Anyway, it's a very, very burdensome for the ones who are suffering and also for the healthcare system as well as the economy in general. So it's estimated around 11 111 billion with the B, the annual cost of migraines when it comes to also when we factor in the loss of productivity in the economy. So a lot of very impactful related issues with that. And also the care is fragmented across different care levels, and people themselves have not found the way to the healthcare, unfortunately. So the traditional method is not working, which is clear. And what Migrevention has built is a digital headache clinic. So it is in essence, it is a clinical workflow tool which combines two things. There is a digital headache diary app for patient. So the patient is tracking their own headaches on the app, as well as the medication intake and such. And then on the other end, we have the patient manager dashboard for specialists, which then is what we commercialize. So we are selling our solution B2B to healthcare providers so that they can connect their patients' diaries with the dashboard and start getting this overview of their situation, building the whole clinical pathway on it. There are also additional, let's say, smart functionalities on it, algorithms. We already have the medication overuse alert, which is actually the reason why it is a medical device. So our app is class 1 medical device. I will come back to that in next slide. What kind of impacts does it have? And we have had a pleasure of Silja going through the regulatory strategy as she just introduced for Migrevention. So since day one, we have been determined of being a medical device. And that is a bit different than normal, maybe. And also in coming generations, we have additional smart functionalities like diagnostics and therapeutic modules and coming. So I already started with this topic. So we identify ourselves as a medical device company. So we are a software-based medical device, class 1. And as said, the intended purpose is on the medication overuse prevention. So medication overuse, just to comment, is something that can grow on top of the existing headache syndrome. And it's very hard to get rid of. So the prevention here is very important. So it can be prevented, and that's the basic idea why we have built our clinical purpose on that. So I know there are probably many similar solutions that have tried to find the way around it, not to be a medical device, and of course it complicates things, especially from the business side of things. It definitely does. So it can be seen as self-sabotaging. So why we sort of set up for ourselves this kind of barriers if it might not be needed. But as said, this is part of our DNA, and this is what we have been trying to build from day one. And also referring to what Daniela said in the morning, so that really is building the trust in the clinical sense. So we see it all the time, especially now that we are going towards the UK market, and there it makes a difference. So you have all the QMS in the background. You have everything sort of clinically proven to a point that at least it is accepted as a clinical tool. And also, in a way, it builds a competitive barrier for us, for our competitors, because it sets a certain standard. If we succeed to show this as a best practice tool in the market, then it sets a certain standard. So if someone comes with a similar solution and it's not a medical device grade, then obviously we are in a better position. But definitely, as said, it really defines our market expansion strategy. Because everything we do, we first need to start from the regulatory considerations. Just a quick overview in terms of the market presence at the moment, or the market strategy at the moment. We are live and active in Estonia, but we consider Estonia as our sort of test market, validation market. And here we have basically had a chance to test at least most of the possible pathways and models. Primary care, secondary care, insurance collaborations, employers, so very different models. And that's the main value of the Estonian market. It's very compact, it's very sort of helpful for testing and validation. We have set our beachhead market, the UK. It's a bold move for sure, but and obviously UK there is an unmet need which is very clear. So the whole overall healthcare is not in a very good place, and there have been times, I remember a discussion with a neurologist who said that for now, it was like a year ago or so, he said that there is no even, if you come with a migraine to a neurologist, basically you don't even get anything in the calendar anymore, because there are so many other more prioritized neurological conditions, and you just need to work it out yourself basically. And then obviously the primary care needs to chip in, and there we sort of try to then find the balance in between there. So, but yes, UK is our primary market. Then as a secondary markets, we have the Middle Eastern markets of UAE and Saudi Arabia. So there, let's say, we don't have, we are setting up a pilot as we speak in the UAE, but it's more like we put, let's say, definitely much more of our work into the UK at the moment. And there we just basically try and find this kind of direct routes to pilots. And then we have 5+ markets where we are more in this kind of exploratory stage. So when it comes to market selection, we do have this very, let's say, robust process existing. So we have the market selection criteria and related checklists. So each of the market we are capable of evaluating based on that. But obviously that's really not the full truth. So we don't make these decisions behind the desk. So there is always this kind of random factor. And what it means, I will show you shortly in the example of the UK. Yes, so the UK market, I will try to explain or maybe almost like chronologically walk you through that how we ended up in the UK or set our presence in the UK market. So we started, as many do, with the UK trade missions. It was still back before I joined, were definitely the first ones. I know in 2022, I believe, was the trade mission to Leeds, West Yorkshire. And there we found, or actually our founder, Katrina, found this meaningful traction, and also found that this local ecosystem is really supportive, and we set ourselves up there. So we participated in several trade missions, and during one mission we then made the decision to basically build a sort of a base in Leeds area. We joined the Nexus Leeds, which is the innovation hub of Leeds University. And they are kind of like this community-based. They also have this kind of innovation support, and they provided a lot of help in terms of finding local key opinion leaders, any kind of partners to discuss with, and they helped a lot in terms of like the first market validations there. Then in 2024, beginning of 24, we received this Enterprise Estonia, Startup Estonia business development grant for deep tech companies. I don't know the name exactly. So a small grant, but then this kind of structured for us this very specific things that we want to achieve now. And the first thing obviously was from the regulatory point of view, the DTAC process, or the Digital Technology Assessment Criteria process, which I'm still not entirely sure. It's kind of needed and not so much, depending on who you ask. If you go to a healthcare provider, some of them really ask for it. Some do not. Some have their very own criteria that you need to meet. But basically what it is that it is a collection of evidence basically on different important topics like technology, clinical, data privacy, and so on. So you bring this set of evidence to them, and then they basically that's the basis for the future procurement, and also if you are just negotiating a pilot, then it's still sort of helpful. But again, it's a bit of a unclear to us still that to what extent it's actually mandated. And then also we, part of the same grant, we got to work with a consultant who built us this kind of more elaborate market strategy for the UK. This ended up in lots of calls and no-shows. I think at some point we calculated that the no-show rate was something like 40%. So it's really difficult to really actually get them on the call. And that underlines really the point that I'm trying to make with regards to the boots on the ground. So it's really important to, and you can really make these first introductions, raise the first interest in your solution, and really get this kind of first feedbacks and so on. But in the long run, it just, if you only rely on these kind of regular calls, which you can have even on the calendar with someone for like half a year or so, it just fades out. So you need to have someone, you need to be willing to go there yourself. Actually, our co-founder Katrina is the reason why she is not here today presenting is that she's going to the UK as we speak. So this, I know that this is a bit of a cliche, but the boots on the ground really matters, and we know that for firsthand. Also very important that we didn't only focus on the model, the primary model. We really looked around to find this kind of connections to other possible stakeholders, insurances, different digital platforms. When it comes to interoperability, I will come back to that. So definitely very important topic to find these connections and really understand a strategy around interoperability, meaning that how will you, not if, but how will you build these integrations into existing health systems. But then a very important step for us has been the patient organization support. We are in regular discussions with Migrant Trust and Migrant Ireland. With Migrant Trust, actually, we are setting up a common grant application as we speak. So the patient involvement side will be covered by them. So if you, obviously, this helps a lot also the uptake by the patients. So if the patient organizations really support it and they sort of promote it, obviously that's a big thing. And then the clinical reference is really what builds your reputation. So these calls, I think I have been in tens, if not hundreds of discussions with the clinical leads and not only clinical but also the technical and decision makers and so on. But the clinical reference is really what's actually working. So we are currently setting up 3 different pilots, and this has been only like doable based on those references that have been moving towards the expert organizations through the word to mouth, whatever. How much time do I have left? I don't know. Not much. Okay. Quickly about the learnings. I think the learnings there are not that many very fresh ideas here, but maybe I can give you a bit of a own flavor to each. So already covered the notion regarding each market needs footwork and each needs care. So you cannot really manage it from the distance. And I think when it comes to these trade missions, and we have been going to Arab Health Fair for I think 4 years now, and after each year you can conclude that not much is happening in terms of actual results. But then after 3rd year only, then we sort of crystallized certain things. So it's a long play. But I still think that you need to be present also physically, and it matters. So listen to key opinion leaders, really listen. I will bring you an example. So in Leeds University Hospital, we had a neurologist who was really, who was basically the first neurologist in the UK with whom we had this kind of a very good, elaborate discussions. And we just introduced our pathway, and he immediately got this idea that, so there is, in migraine care, there is this probably the most efficient, but also the most expensive preventive medication is CGRP monoclonal antibodies. So it's an injection which is regularly done, but it also requires controlled stops. So after 6 months, let's say, there is required a stop that you don't know. Take this for a while, and then the baseline is set again. So you understand that how this works, or if the medication works or not. And there is no good way of measuring this, that people are really making those control stops. So they normally are not. And it means a huge expense for NHS because it's reimbursed. It's a very expensive drug. So immediately there was additional value prop, or addition to our value prop with regards to that. No one wants to routines disrupted, so you really need to understand that you are coming with sort of a burden. And also, again, interoperability is something that you need to bring wherever you start any discussions, at least in the UK, I'm sure also elsewhere. you need to bring your first ideas regarding how you connect with their system. So you need to have the basic capability of doing that. And prepare for long haul, it takes time. We are still setting up the pilots, which we started a bit more than a year ago with. So it's okay, and you just need to internalize these timelines. And again, always look out for new models and partnerships. So it's very easy to focus on the model that you are trying to implement at the time, but actually you need to keep your eyes open for any other ones as well, because it can sort of cycle back to your preferred model in a way that you cannot expect at the time. So you need partners to find these kind of additional values that will build your success. Yes, and even if it does not always show, then they really do need us. So it's maybe as a sort of optimistic point to my ending. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Do we have any questions to Martin? Quick one. If not, I will ask one myself. So you mentioned the global burden as well, and you mentioned how you are going forward with the CE mark. And so any suggestions to companies? You could be a preventive tool, you could be something else. So it's a sort of feel, and it probably depends on the market that you're entering. So any suggestions you would have for young companies that are thinking or approaching the same way that you could be in a way a preventive tool, perhaps, which is less well monetized in many countries. Then again, so is there anything you would bring out in this range?
I think it comes down to do you want to be let's say administrative or clinical? So I think that's the key sort of decision that you need to make. And again, it can be really much easier to operate as administrative. But I think do you want to make a difference? I think clinically. So we have our founders we have a top neurologist in our founding team. We have clinical psychologists in our team. We have patient organization founders in our team. So that has been probably why we have chosen this path.
Thank you, Martin. Next up, we have Madis from 7 Sense. Please tell your story. And Martin, yes, please share the microphone and the clicker as well.
Thank you.
This one as well.
Yes, this one as well. Okay, hi. My name is Madis, similar to Martin. I'm responsible of the business development and actually selling. Not so much on the certification side, but I think this has a big major impact on my work, and I can definitely share the story. We are developing the haptic technology, which means that we are digitalizing the sense of touch, and this is our product. It's called Superbrain, and what it essentially does, it gives them the understanding of the surrounding environment through the sense of touch. And I think it's important to mention that, first of all, there are like roughly 300 million people with severe visual impairment to complete blindness. But you can all imagine that how bad it is to live without seeing anything. So this is one of the reasons why we decided to adopt this technology for them. And essentially how it works is that we are using 3D cameras to scan the surrounding environment, and then we translate it into this kind of tactile image or tactile image on your forehead. So compared to many other blind tech startups, we are dealing with something way more sophisticated than just some audio-based signals that say that there is some kind of object and don't go there. So we are actually creating this kind of like a vision for them. And some really unique selling points or like benefits is that it is ridiculously intuitive to use. So our partners, and I'm talking about like mobility trainers and the professionals who are working with the blind, they basically say that within 10 minutes they walk around like with the typical vision. But it's also audio and hands-free. So if you have a combined impairment of vision loss and the hearing loss, then you can still use it, which makes it particularly interesting. And of course, we are using AI to actually recognize objects. So instead of getting this kind of audio-based description that, okay, there is some people, there are some couches, there are some table, you can actually understand where the object is and you can literally find it. And just a fun party trick that we are doing. This guy on the red jacket is completely blind, but he can and he understands where the bag comes from, and he can actually catch it midair. So this is how well this technology works. But moving to the real topic, when you're developing any aids, we are not talking about some real like medical equipment that I don't know test some kind of whatever thing. So medical aids are a little bit more simple. We don't need to particularly have the MDR, but we definitely need the CE certification, which we have from the 2024. But we also decided to go through the MDR Class 1 route, and this is mainly because of the financing systems that it gives us. So considering that this technology that we are developing is at the moment, it's relatively expensive, it is something that we cannot really sell to people who pay out of the pocket. Although we have had some few end users whose, I don't know, friends or family is rich enough to actually pay it up front, and we are really happy about it. So in regards with the MDR, this was actually a requirement from our partners in Europe that if you want to sell something that is relatively expensive, we need to have the coverage from the insurance companies. And this was the main reason why we decided to go this route, although it puts us some restrictions when we talk about like real innovation. And essentially what it means in a practical terms is that our MDR is based on the core technology that we have. So we have the compliance on the main technology that allows us to capture the 3D image of the surrounding environment and so on and so forth. But when we go into this kind of different AI features, when we want to create some new this kind of applications, it means that we have to start creating a paperwork and all the bureaucracy behind each feature, and it puts a massive burden to a really small startup company. So we are now in the situation where we have basically two devices. One is classified as MDR Class 1 medical device, and then there is this kind of consumer product where we can actually display and test different types of features and play around with the device and actually have the validation that, okay, this feature is something that people really like. So we, are starting to consider if we want to make a paperwork for that and put it into the medical device as well. So yeah, each feature requires a risk mitigation and documentation, and it's unfortunately it's something that ChatGPT can't do yet. So this will put a heavy burden on us. And yeah, the last thing, as I mentioned as well, that it is more important for the health insurance to the government, not for the end users. End users don't really care about this kind of quality management systems when it comes about the aids. So aid is not something that you rely on or your health relies on. It's something that helps you just go through and do some activities. So when we first started to, in 2024, when we first started to actually introduce this technology into the market, we had the question that, okay, should we go to the US right away or should we stay in Europe? Because there is a lot of discussions about how the bureaucracy in Europe is slow and it's, it takes a lot of time, and at the same time everybody is praising the FDA predictability, because once you have the FDA, you can basically apply for the governmental programs like the Affordable Care Act and the Medicaid and Medicare and whatnot. But for us, it was first of all, we didn't have a chance to actually go put the boots on the ground in the US. So we decided to stay in Europe. It was much easier for us, and then we were kind of handcuffed by the fact that our project was mainly financed by the European Union. So it made the choice much easier for us. So we decided to stay in Europe, and our current main market at the moment is actually Germany. To me, in the beginning, it sounded absolutely ridiculous that why should we go to Germany, because everybody knows that German bureaucracy is massive, it's slow, it's even slower than compared to like average bureaucracy in Europe. But when it comes to blindness and visual impairment, then in Germany the systems are working so well and they are so developed that if it wouldn't be because of us, so it took us longer than expected to comply with the regulations and to create the paperwork, we would probably be already in the German market with the reimbursement. Because at the moment, we are in the situation where in 2024, we started the first pilot project together with the first vocational training center for the blind and visually impaired. Then in 2025 springtime, we had an agreement with the leading distributor in Germany for blind aids. And now, just last month, we already started the process of getting it reimbursed by the health insurance. Documentation is already they already have the documentation. Now they require the actual device for the technical assessment, and we can assume that probably in the beginning of 2026 it is reimbursed in Germany. So for us, the main, and I think that if we talk about like small startups, the main key thing is to have the right partners. And there are like different types of partners, of course, like the ones who are helping you with the certifications. Then there are key opinion leaders, and then there are distributors. So each of them, actually, you should not work with anybody whoever offers the service for you. For example, the key opinion leader, we were super lucky to have this particular, it's called BFV Düren in the west of Germany, and we were super lucky to have them because they were so motivated to try this device that they actually created the whole testing structure themselves, so we could actually use this data for the clinical evaluation or the evidence. The same thing is with the distributor. We have pilot projects and we have different distributors in all over the world, from Canada to Europe to Asia. But the German distributor is the only one who has a separate department for reimbursement process. So it is moving like ridiculously fast. So yeah, in general, what I want to say is that German bureaucracy is crazy, is scary, but it works, and you should not be afraid of that of the bureaucracy if you have the right partners for that. Some learnings that we had to learn the hard way is if you want to move fast, you need to be proactive. It means that you should already have the documentation before they are actually asking it. And sometimes you don't know what it is, but in most cases there is actually like not guidelines, but I don't know what's the English word for that, but basically there are rules that you need to comply with, and if you have the right partner from the certification side, then they can actually suggest you that, okay, you already need to start thinking about this and that and that and that. And of course, when it comes to aids, like like any aids for the disabilities, you have to consider the alternative finance schemes as well. Because it's not only health insurance who finance these kind of things, it's also the social ministry has their own organizations for that. Like in Estonia, it's the SKA. But either way, they are also asking clinical evidence, so you better have it. So yeah, that's shortly how it is with us. Main points that I want to highlight is that choose the right partners. Don't say yes to the first one. And the second thing is that Germany is actually quite a lovable place. I've been there so many times, and I suggest anybody to actually approach it. Thank you. Any questions? It's
Does
not.
this mean the company will grow quickly because of the size of the market and the reimbursement?
Yes, I think it's not like a game changer, it's the game starter for us.
Right.
The Germans' social system, how they treat blind and visually impaired is quite ridiculous because, for example, in Estonia, we don't even have dedicated mobility trainers. They have like massive buildings for vocational training and all these kind of topics. So they are supporting blind and visually impaired like in any way possible.
Where's next? Austria or a bigger country?
No, probably. I hope to go to US because in the end, I mean, US is like kind of the golden nugget for every startup. But let's say the main problem is that at the moment we are quite a small team. So each country requires resources to open it when we talk about like reimbursement and so on and so forth. So unfortunately, I have time only to focus on one country at the time. I hope that after Germany, it's much easier to start the same process in France, maybe in Italy, in Spain, and so on and so forth.
What would happen if I wore it? What would happen if I wore one of these?
You don't necessarily have to be blind to use it. It just creates this kind of haptic information on your forehead, and you can use it the same way how blind use it. There is no like distinction between who can use it or who can't use it. It is purely unique experience, and it depends on the person's this kind of understanding or the way how their brain works.
Thank you, Madis. That was very impressive. And now we're moving on with Priit. So he's our third startup to talk about his story. So please, the floor is yours. You get the microphone and the clicker if you need one.
Okay, so good morning. I understand we're running a bit late in time, so I put the timer for myself here for 10 minutes. I'm Priit KRUUS, CEO Dermtest, CEO and co-founder of Dermtest. So Dermtest has been working on digital health for now quite some time, 8+ years, I think, full time. And have gained a lot of experience. So when starting to talk about how to export digital health services, then like a million ideas and experiences pop into my head. But I'll try to narrow it down. First of all, so Dermtest is a digital toolbox for skin and wound care, a software. Initially started as a doctor-to-doctor communication service and then expanded into medical photo management. So in Estonia, we have about 20% of all family doctors who use this software and multiple functionalities. All of the central and regional hospitals, home nurses, nursing home, some home nurses, some nursing homes, private, public. So very broad coverage in one small country. So Estonia is a pilot market in terms of companies. It's very small compared to Germany, UK, US, which is definitely like a way to go if you want to grow as a company in a niche area. And most digital health companies, most health tech companies are like niche companies. So you can expand in one country, but it doesn't fully make sense. The numbers won't add up fully, although that depends also. But in any case, our story of market exploration has been from Estonia to Lithuania and to Germany, and then testing out a few others. So first of all, we started in Estonia with an out-of-pocket model. So patients paid to family doctors paid to us, we paid to dermatologists. We built like a service model for early skin cancer detection. This service is still up and running, 10+ years going, largest scientific paper on this kind of service type done in the world here in Estonia. Good reference point for other markets. Then we had in a starting phase it was pre-COVID. Times were different. We went to Lithuania. Started there, worked the system up, had some partners. Then it was 2018 when telemedicine wasn't legal in some countries. For example, Poland, Germany had a law where remote care with patients is illegal. We didn't have remote care with patients, but we had a clinic in Lithuania who did a lot of remote care with patients. And as they had problems with the authority because they did remote care with patients, they were kind of jinxed out and also cancelled our contract. So we lost there a key partner because of the screws dried up. 1 year later, we had COVID and remote care was a standard basically. So very, very interesting times there. All in all, Lithuanian market was, we pulled out. This was one of the reasons. Another reason was that we had to decide whether Lithuania or Germany as our export market. And we understood that a small company niche market, highly regulated, complex market, digital health is all about process change. And so it's difficult. So we focused on Estonia as our core main market, where we expanded vertically, did new product types, new functionalities to the software. So in Estonia now we are in a position where we are not comfortable, but close to comfortable, break even. We can build cool stuff here. We have a good client base. And Estonia kind of works, but at the same time we started going into other markets also. This was 8 years ago when we went to start a bootcamp Digital Health Berlin. So in Berlin had a startup bootcamp accelerator. We moved the whole team into this nice flat in Prenzlauer Berg. Me, our front-end developer, CTO's wife, daughter, and cousin for some reason. But anyway, it was really cool because next day my app developer comes in and I was up at night and start building this app, and then we could really engage quite quickly. Now teams are quite remote often. But this helped to kind of breathe the air locally. So I second Martin's comments regarding boots on the ground. We started our German market approach being there. I think it was total like 5 or 6 months on spot. Of course, developers didn't like do much like development work, but everybody understood that this is the place where we want to focus. But digital health is very difficult, and this was again pre-COVID. So we started with a private paid business model in Germany, while everybody said that this won't work. In Estonia it worked, in Germany it didn't work. We still tried because we didn't have much clue about how to approach insurances. They were like this big organization who you couldn't approach really. And we tried to test out the privately paid model, so out-of-pocket model in Germany. Well, this didn't work because in Germany the social insurance system works quite like well or extensively, so out-of-pocket model was difficult to expand there. So then we thought a bit and tried to go via different types of projects, and tenders. So the German healthcare system has 100 insurances, then these local area networks, then like Bundesländer, like very many layers, and there were opportunities where one insurance, for example, wanted to build up this kind of system that they had in Estonia. So they did a big tender. We lost this tender. It was a 5 million tender, and we lost it with price. So not quality, none of the quality aspects, but we lost it the price to the local provider. So typically when you talk to people and say that like, okay, you're going to German market to push the price up. So like they're all gonna do a high price, but actually it's not the case. So we, like in Estonia, we clothes are more expensive than our digital health is also more expensive per person. It's the scale. It's 80 million people versus 1 million people. The system understands it. It pushes the unit prices down. It works when German healthcare system, German doctors really know how to count every penny in your pricing model. So they are like 3 or 4 times more detailed in their personal accounting than in Estonia. So like commas. So 10 cents, 20 cents debates on a unit price. So, but in any case, like the point was that we lost this tender. The project itself, which we lost, actually failed. We knew it's gonna be that because for some reason this service that we have built up is quite complex and a huge system change. And so this was the second. First thing was out-of-pocket payment model in German market. Then, which by the way worked in Lithuania also, so we didn't have to approach insurances. But Lithuania we cancelled due to other reasons. Then the second model in Germany was then this kind of tender, project-based, trying to find different projects. Projects offers start kind of like stalling. There are some kind of EU money project rules, a lot of complexity there. So tried a few other ones, didn't fly. So and then we had like a study tour of German healthcare officials coming to Estonia, and we had this meeting where the Raekoja Plats were somehow connected in my speech, Rae Apteek, X-Road, and Mart Laar, and we were happily like being in the same table with one of those another very German types of organizations called management companies, which are like middlemen between insurances, doctors, and technology companies. This selective contract model, Selektivvertrag, in Germany is like this kind of custom innovation enabling reimbursement vehicle, which is actually really cool because it's in Estonia we have close to something there was 4 years ago, Madis PÄEV. There is a bit innovatsiooni program, but nothing like this. So it gives some flexibility on the market. And basically, we found those people and this one insurance where we together built a business model for our technology, because saving lives reduces in the long-term health insurance fund costs. But so like that was the approach, like sitting around the table and figuring out what could the pricing be, because it's non-existent. It's like creative destruction. The destruction part is the pricing is not there. We have to build it. Build the whole approach for digital health implementation. So and this was really cool because we got our business model. The problem was it was a 0.5 million person insurance. a small one. And the logic with selective contracts is that you need to expand later on to other insurances, which means basically if all goes well, you need to get these big insurances on board. But then we run against with a competition problem, meaning that the management company that we selected is in a bit of a competition with another management company who works with the bigger insurances. So there was like some problems there, and we couldn't like build up a huge network to scale between these from one insurance to 100 insurances. So one Haigekassa versus like 100 Haigekassas, and you need to develop all those relations and so on. So like pretty impossible with like 1.0 or 0.8 persons, and you always, I mean, you have to be lean. So yeah, so this didn't work out. Another 2 years passed. So 2 years, and then we have like 6, 7, and yeah. So then we started again. In the meantime, we had built up like a service offering in Estonia, which enables 16 different types of services in Estonia. So like we have a very functional platform. It's really cool. We have 1,000 users, 1,500 users, doctors, medical doctors, nurses on our platform in Estonia. Different functionalities, about like 100 different use cases that you can build in Estonia, and different workflows. So we narrowed them down to 16 experiments in Germany and started to test them out, talk to like typical startup validation experimentation, and talked to the doctors and found the fourth business model, which now works. Took some time. This business model, won't go to detail, but we validated it last year, so that we got to like 0 to 1, and then beginning of this year we got from like 1 to 100, reference to Peter Thiel's book. We don't want to cite that much, but anyhow, 1 to 100. So and now we have about we have 10 clinics signed, like 6, 7, 8 are active, about 100 GPs under this, and a bunch of dermatologists, and it seems to work. So the business model works. We have actual numbers like growing graph, and like every day patients getting service offering. But this validation exercise took like a few years, and we tapped into like the general reimbursement framework, which is another complexity of the German market. So this definitely, if I started now, I would try to do everything like maybe in a different order, but at the same time, the world has changed quite a lot during 8 years in terms of digital health, and how this model builds up, DIGAs and all of those other models. So it's you have to kind of sense what's going on there. Yeah, main learning points. So never, like in digital health and healthcare and healthcare export, never assume anything. But always keep going. I mean, yes, we like all of this experience that we built up. Home market is kind of important, but at the same time, somewhat the burden. So home market is like somewhere where like we go to Germany, and the German insurance like, oh, okay, you have 3,000 cases already done in Estonia. That's really nice. At the same time, like in your home market, you need to focus on that market also. So you need to plan resources to build on both of the market, and really well how to kind of like, yes, boots on the ground, but balance your company's resources that you have those different markets, because again, in Estonia as a home market, doing clinical research, for example, is much easier and less costly than in German, or I assume in UK. So constantly balancing between the home market, export market in terms of resources, focus, prioritization, compliance activities, so on. And this goes definitely for like digital health and more complex digital health. Not sure about devices. It's a bit different because sometimes like Estonia is too small for device market. But anyhow, I've still passed my 10-minute mark here, but 15 minutes as planned. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Priit. Any questions to Priit from the audience? I will ask one. So you mentioned a couple of markets that you have tried and the conditions have changed over the years, so on. Do you already have a GPT prompt, AI prompt that you can share with other startups how to select a good market to start with?
Well, the prompt started 1 year ago, but 10 years ago, I mean, the fun part is that we are storing communicate software, MDR. Not MBR, so not MDR, store and communicate. So we store, communicate. We plan to go into a Diga route also at some point. So one product offering, we started building a class 2A device and did ISO 13485. The first one, audit one, but then pulled the brakes because we understood that the market conditions changed and there is, we're not gonna activate those MDR compliant functionalities in the software. So we're gonna keep ourselves in store and communicate. But we had worked like 1.5 years before large language models on building up your QMS. So it would be like, using LLM world and QMS is, I bet the time savings could be like 4 or 5 times as a minimum. So now doing all the QMS work when you can build your LLMs on top of it, give like a prompt to your people that what do I need to document if I do this, and like it's total different world. So we did it. Well, just before LLMs appeared, basically. So, so yeah, I think now I wouldn't be so scared of going into MDR regulated stuff because of LLMs.
Thank you, Priit. So now we'll continue with the panel. I'm inviting here on the stage all the speakers today, and I'm asking if Daniela can also join us online. Let's see if these also work. Martin, Madis, grab a glass of water and please. Hi, Daniela, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you and see you.
Excellent. Madis, please. Oh, grab a seat. So we talked quite a bit about the regulations part as well, and this is considered to be one of the I would say not even an elephant in a room anymore. People are very openly talking about the regulatory issues. So, do you see that the situation in Estonia has become better regarding the startups looking how to meet the regulations and thinking about the regulations from day one? And if not, then why? Is it more a problem of not knowing the part of regulations in the early stages? Is it somehow trying to avoid that part until very necessary to go into that space? Is it the financial issue that often startups try to develop more their product or service before going into regulatory because it looks like a bit of a hot mess and then it would probably eat away a big bunch of your finances? Is it the issue from the investor side that the investors are not so educated yet that they're willing to finance that part of the development of the company? So how do you see that space? So are we actually in a good place in Estonia? Do startups actually en masse understand the need and are working towards it, or should we provide more either education to stakeholder groups or something else? Is there anyone who wants to take this? Yeah.
So from our side, when we started the process, I think it was the time when all this obligation from the government side went to the Ravimiamet, and what we discovered, especially when we talk about like hardware, then in Estonia there is not many examples of medical device companies. So in terms of asking some advice or asking some guidance on how and what to do was something that they didn't actually had much experience themselves either. So there are a lot of things that comes through the experience, and I think that in general in Estonia we're still moving towards this kind of collecting this kind of experience and understanding on how to do things. I think there should be a little bit more knowledge and experience sharing between different European companies, and maybe there are, I don't know, but at that time our experience was in a way that Estonia don't have that much experience in this area. But I believe that at the same time, when we talk about Germany or actually Italy is also quite a country with massive experience in medical devices. So this kind of knowledge experience sharing should be between the countries, and this is definitely one of the things that for starting or for a small startup can be quite frustrating.
Does anyone want to add from Estonian side?
I have this luxury of referring to Silja, of course, because Silja has been the regulatory head. I can comment on the investors' expectation side, I guess. So I think this clearly has been, let's say, improving. So definitely they see the value in having the certain certificates, at least when we are talking about the specialized investors. I mean, not the generalists, but definitely they are willing to fund it, and they are seeing also the value. So this is one of the core things that, at least in our experience, so our certification has definitely been something that has extended the discussions with investors.
Well, maybe I'm commenting from the a historical perspective. I started as an attorney 2004, to be honest, yeah. And in one point of my time, I designed such a IT program, or we were part of the it was information technology law for University of Tartu legal department, and my topic was actually legal risk management, and it was 10 years ago. And everybody looked at me with such a face that, why you are talking about such stuff? Nobody really bothers to do it anyways. And it was 10 years ago. And I was thinking that how you're developing it? And it was aimed for the knowledge-based companies that you may call also health tech. At this time, we didn't have a health tech companies, when we called them knowledge-based companies or IP intense companies. Well, for deep tech companies, for example. And when I was doing it, it was really nobody understood why on earth you should teach such a stuff. And currently there is no such program, to be honest. It was cancelled in one point because nobody really saw the need. And now I actually see that the need is so high that we have already surpassed the moment where we should actually teach it. So sometimes some things are just, I don't know, some people foresee it, maybe lawyers foresee it, but nobody bothers to listen to us. And also, of course, the resource management in the small companies, that if you need to divide your resources between the actual building the device and, I don't know, market entry and business development, then you need to find somebody who thinks about regulatory route. And there is not so much, yes, experiences on Estonian market, but at least you should have somebody who's willing to learn, eager to learn, and to find the easiest way to put your product on the market, whatever it costs. I think this is the route how to go. And maybe I would say, if I'm referring back to my work previously as an attorney, our consulting companies maybe are too keen on maybe making money also, instead of really well, maybe finding some other ways how to help, or I don't know. It's Yeah, maybe we are too focused that let's try to make some money on consultation business, but actually we should have these use cases. We should share the use cases. We should showcase like, okay, we have like MDR class 1. Why we are MDR class 1? What is actually the intended purpose and why we can qualify ourselves there? You are MDR class 1. Why you are? Why you chose this path instead of going to class 2A? You are not MDR. Like why? What is the trick there? What is the functionality that you can call yourself not MDR? I mean, these, yeah, store and communicate. But like, I mean, like these kind of really simple use cases. Why regulatory pathway this way? How it reflects or links back to the reimbursement? Is there some link there if you would be in MDR higher class or no? So these are this kind of maybe like systematical ways of teaching the community, like what to expect, yeah.
But I understand that ChatGPT already does that for you, Priit. Was that more or less true what you were saying?
Well, right now, yes, well, definitely, 100%. LLMs definitely will do a big part of the consultancy work. So consultancies have a problem because LLMs can process more information at the same time in a niche area. And we in Estonia, at least, we have very few consultants in the MDR space with very strong experience there. So you might, like 2 or 3 years ago, end up with a consultant who is learning themselves also the whole thing, and this might be really difficult. But yeah, just a quick comment. I think the situation is way better than before, but definitely even pre-COVID, pre-MDR. Then the rift of like, let's say, a generalist investor in Estonia and what the heck is a digital health or health tech company and what it actually entails. This rift was huge because we had these huge successes, just like Bolt-wise getting 50K MRR in 6 months, and this was the benchmark for all the other startups who did like deep tech. And then it's like, why doesn't the sales grow? And yeah, I can give you a list, but then it sounds like a lot of excuses. So okay, I will just get back to work. So yeah, the situation is way better. We're constantly talking about it. I just hope that we are not like someone as a system overdoing it. And MDR came also as a possibility for healthcare providers to say no. So like not sure. No. So another possibility to say no. But reimbursement is the top one, of course.
Thank you, Priit. Daniela, how do you see it in Germany? So have you noticed any differences in general? Is this something you meet in your daily work, that people are more aware of the conditions? How good is the German sort of framework for this? How supportive? And do you think that we are ever gonna be satisfied with the regulations, or should the startups be expecting a new one after every year, so to say? So the AI Act came now, as Silja mentioned, with potentially with the European Health Data Space. Of course, this will not be next year, but there will be new regulations. So how do you see that space from German perspective?
A lot of questions, but let me start with agreeing on that ChatGPT is helping a lot. I would definitely agree on it, especially because I think a few years before we had this big hurdle that it doesn't matter in which country you looked at. Often the regulatory documents were written just in their home language, and already this is a huge benefit from ChatGPT, that it could just translate it, and then the startups can take a deeper look into it. And I also agree that consultants will have a tough time in the regulatory landscape. For Germany, I would say that, of course, a lot of healthcare startups are aware of the regulatories, but I still think it's also a financial problem to get all these certifications. And I think Silja had a brilliant question during my presentation, because she asked for some grants specifically for this topic, and I did some research in between. And to be honest, there is none in Germany for foreign companies that want to enter Germany and get some help with certifications. And I think that's a structural problem that we need to to go on and to change maybe, so that the financial part is not the biggest hurdle to get some regulatories, because the regulatories are there for safe patient care, and it's really important. But yeah, I see there's a change. The startups are thinking about it. They have more knowledge about it. They want to start earlier by thinking about they start earlier to think about regulatory stuff. But I think still this financial hurdle and sometimes also this jungle of bureaucracy, especially in Germany, like Madis told us. But there will always be some regulatories, and it's good that they are there, because they are for patient safety, and we need to work on with it. So I hope every question was answered.
Yes, thank you, Daniela. So one part of the meeting the requirements is also sort of the clinical proof or clinical validation part. So when you're early stage startup, you have to face that at one point. So should this be something you think of day one? Is it really hard to collaborate with the clinicians? So there's a bit of a chicken and egg problem. On one hand, the clinicians, I mean, what we're talking about, the healthcare needs innovation. They need more efficient models. Then on the other hand, it's difficult to show that these models are efficient. So it's sort of which should come first. Of course, the clinics and the healthcare system is not created to work through loads of innovations. They have other goals that they need to meet. So what is your take on this situation? That I understand that for startups it's not always easy to get to the clinic, to find a good partner, a meaningful project. There is some support available, at least through Enterprise Estonia. But what is your take in general? How difficult it has been for you so far?
Well, time. We built up like a privately paid service initially in Estonia. But we were in Estonia, so we have ID code, we have ethics committees, we have health information system, we have since 2017 a laboratory central information system. We were able to do a study, retrospective study in real life environment, teledermoscopy, 3,000 patients. Incomparable to any other study in the world for the same service. It took like 4 years to do the study, but it was done based on 2 years real-life data connecting with other real-life data in the Estonian central system. So making the study was like technically easier because we didn't have to persuade someone to recruit patients into randomized controlled trials. But those retrospective studies are still not topping the list for health insurances and clinical kind of like scientific culture. So RCTs are still somewhat the winners. And if you have a digital health product, then when doing RCTs, that we have done also, you have multiple problems which don't exist when you're doing RCTs for pharmaceuticals or even devices. These are unique. So you're up and against the system who has set the bar, and this bar is like it's impossible to jump over, basically, for some digital health products. But DIGA has adjusted, PKAN has adjusted these rules, and there is some flexibility. But yeah, so main point is real life data. You can use them, but doing RCT is difficult, time consuming, expensive.
Maybe my comment is, that what I said already before, that before jumping any clinical evidence gathering, you should really understand carefully what is the intended purpose of your device. So what for you actually collect this evidence, what you want to prove. In a sense, there is then threefold what you should prove, but it all depends from the intended purpose. So you should prove that your device is working, you should prove that it's safe, and you should prove that it brings economical value. But it all comes down to the intended purpose, how you achieve it with this intended purpose with your device, or is this the correct one? You sometimes may even ask this question, is this the correct one? So therefore, the starting point is there. I would advise, go there.
Yeah.
Madis, can I? Martin, please.
Yeah, just to comment, I will continue where Priit ended the expense part. So I think the funding for this kind of even small, and now I'm seeing my UK reflections. So even for this kind of small pilots or service evaluations, it's still expensive. It's still, there is a lot of time and resource involved. And obviously all the healthcare providers, even if they are really committed, really bought in to the project or the pilot, they still expect this to be covered somehow. And even if the clinical champion would sort of try and find this kind of resource internally, then normally this ends there. So normally it doesn't fly. So someone else says that this is not. So it's, and then on the other end, there is no good public financing really available. There are some, but it's very difficult. So I think that's one of the sections of financing where it's really lacking. This kind of early validation, early evidence collection, small ones, and now we are trying to build. We would need this kind of a small pilot to collect local evidence, but now we need to scope up because in order to possibly get funding for that. So that's our experience with the funding part.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. Madis, you mentioned the issues with Tervisekassa, so it sort of adds additional complexity to planning your clinical trials, and probably the topic there is the limited case flow and also the ever-changing regulations. But how did you manage to solve it, and any recommendations you have when planning the clinical trials?
Yeah, we haven't done anything special in Estonia, basically. So we went right to the Germany. This was a little bit by luck and a little bit by our own decision to go to the market where we know that there is money. But I agree here in Silja that probably the best thing that you can do is to really set the scope on this. Really, you should, well, when you start doing it, it requires, of course, a little bit more documentation. But if you can't really tell the purpose of the device in one sentence, then your scope is too wide. and when we first started to talk about it and discuss how to do it and how to plan it, then luckily our partner was more practical and more realistic than us, because we really wanted to include so many different ideas and things and whatnot. And then they just said that, hey, we're just going to make like this kind of maze with different obstacles, and we see if they trip over them or if they collide with the obstacles, then it's bad, and if it doesn't, then it's good, basically. And that was the main objective for us, and it's really important to understand that your product can be much more than the intended purpose of the device. The intended purpose of the device is basically just something you put on the paper that it can do that, but it can do much more. It doesn't need to be just this one thing. And nobody's impressed if you have some cool features there or there. So, so yeah, that's probably the best advice I can give.
Thank you, Madis. So Daniela, a lot good has been said about Germany and many good experiences. So what is your feel? What is your take on collaboration with clinicians? So Priit mentioned that they are much more aware of the new innovations that can be brought in, and much more aware of the scale and what type of benefits it can bring. So it sort of hints that it should be easier. So do you have a take on this?
Yeah, definitely. So normally I started also my presentations with a quick slide like why Germany, why you should go into Germany, because you mentioned earlier bureaucracy is ridiculous sometimes, but there is a change right now because we have so many needs in Germany. We know that we need technology now because our demography changes. We have these problems around Europe in general, but in Germany we see this right now really in a bigger picture, and there is this need for technologies and also for collaboration with clinicians and digital health. I just wanted to comment one more thing because Priit told us about the DIGA certification and the DIGA pathway and also PKAN, and I think there's again something that we maybe need to think a bit more on a European level, because also in these health technology assessments, there are different purposes for the regulatory and for the also for the evidence. So, for example, for the DIGA pathway, you don't need to show that it's economically effective, your product. They don't want to see it. It's differently on other health technology assessments, but for Germany, you don't need it. So you also can save there a bit money for your own planning if you want to reach this certification. And I think this is also that we need to change it on a European level, that we have one health technology assessment and that you can do it in Estonia, and then you have everything ready to come to Germany to enter the market, or into the UK or into France and so on. And then you can take a bit more or more focus on some real world data maybe in this particular country, but then you have the basis. And I think this is also something that is critical right now. But there's definitely a change in Germany, and much more clinicians are ready to co-create. And I hope that all of you experience this as well.
Thank you, Daniela. Let's stay in Germany for a second, and I would to a next question to you as well, Daniela. So, when you're looking at the investing space, you mentioned you didn't find any support from the government for that type of work. But how do you see the investors? So, are they willingly filling that space, or at least for the local companies, or for foreign companies who are willing to move there, or do you have any suggestions for the companies here, or in general overview of that space as well?
Yeah, you mean particular from an institutional level, or also private investors, venture capital?
Both. So let's say that as you mentioned that there is no clear support from the public sector side. So how do German companies do that? So let's say a company who is registered in Germany, whether the founders are German citizens or not.
Yeah. So I see a lot of startups that have some investors in their boards, in their cap table, that are aware of this certification process, and I think this is also something startup and founders should be aware of, that the investors are aware of this certification process and that this needs money. So please, to all investors, in a way, take your research and see what it really means to get the DIGA certification. For example, you have to think about maybe 200,000 euros approximately. So yeah, this is something you need to be aware of, definitely. From the institutional side, as I mentioned, I think there we have a gap. It shouldn't be there because it's about patient safety. So this is something Germany also needs to think about. And then there's maybe one more thing, what we see in our experiences, especially if you want to get some more investors on board. A critical number is always the number of users. So a lot of investors are looking a lot just of this particular number and less about how many regulatories did you already fulfilled. So yeah, that's maybe also a big hurdle for startups to think about regulatories first and users after. Yeah.
Thank you, Daniela. So, Silja, you mentioned that when we're talking about teaching startups about the regulations, that 10 years ago this was topic, and now it is not anymore. So do you think where we are, let's say, if we take that as a potential pipeline, so where we are with the investors? So are we now with the investors in the very early stages where we actually have to tell them that in the health tech there are these regulations parts and the standards and all these type of things you have to do, and we expect that, let's say, we would get a couple of good success stories in the next 5 years, and then this place would boom. So what is your, predicting future is always risky business, but what is your gut feeling about the situation? So do we need success stories? Do we need some type of specific programs for the investors to understand that space better? Is there anything you think that might help? And maybe you think there is actually no issue at all, that the investors are cautiously coming along and learning as they go.
Well, this example of me teaching 10 years ago was just that then at this point I thought that it's important. Now it's even more important. But about investors, I think the knowledge is there. They definitely recognize that especially biotech and health tech are regulated markets. It's not like something completely wow, that it's completely brand new news. So, and we can think about a company, a startup. Startup always finds the easiest way to the market, or should find the easiest way to the market, which is also like money-wise the smartest way to go in a long run. So that now the question is like where this incentive or this push would come. Okay, maybe from the founder team, they are knowledgeable themselves, but the first this kind of validation, I would say, are still investors, and also sometimes maybe grant providers, because the health tech sector, biotech sector is not relying only on private funding, but also on public funding. So there the knowledge should be. They should be demanding, asking, and this is what we aim to do definitely in ACE, at least in RUP applicants. We will start looking whether they have a regulatory strategy in place or no. So we have done it already like half a year with previous applicant session, and I was part of the expert committee when reviewing, and some of the projects actually failed because there was no viable route to the market. Like at least in they haven't spelled it out. They don't understand in which regulatory space they are. They don't understand what animal they are in a legal sense. So this cannot be anymore. So I think it's a collective effort to be more demanding and also at the same time to assist. So now everybody in the ecosystem needs to find a way how we can assist. I think incubators or tech parts have definitely a huge potential of teaching, of educating, this primary education, kind of primary educational level, that everybody would be aware of some stuff, some basic basic stuff. But at the same time, only teaching doesn't really help. You need to go through the process. And here we have maybe not so many companies in Estonia yet who have really done the whole process themselves. And now we see that it's gradually coming. In 5 years, it will be definitely much better. And then we need to just share the experience, also to others who start to go through the process. But we cannot eliminate any of these ecosystem player kind of tasks, whether to be demanding, whether to be educating, whether to be sharing the information among our fellow startuppers, or I think it's a really, really complex task. And fourthly, I guess governmental agencies like Ravimiamet or Tervisekassa or whoever can assist here. It will be tehnilise järelevalveamet, I don't know how is it in English, who will be supervising AI Act. So it will be also fun experience how this will happen. But all these, they need also knowledge upgrade. In a sense, they really need knowledge upgrade. I don't know how it will in practice be possible, but they really need.
So just a follow-up question to Silja. So I understand you're proposing that we would develop some type of AI-based simulation tool that the startup can play through in a month or two, talking with the different bodies and then understanding what are the questions and what type of
we don't even need to think where it is. It is this regulatory sandbox actually, and you can play around and find also possible alternative regulatory routes there. We should really, a lot of people are talking about regulatory sandbox, and some of the people I have asked also, what does it actually mean? Me as a lawyer, I don't really understand, to be honest, what does it actually mean? If it doesn't provide faster access to the market, then it's a pointless tool. Whatever framework it is or whatever governance model it is, if it doesn't provide faster access to the market, well, then it's just a legal mumbo jumbo, I would say. So if we can figure out in Estonia how to really create the regulatory sandbox, for example, like for health tech companies to test, validate that, put the device market faster, it means also the buy-in from the regulatory authority then, that they need to be willing to basically tick the box and say, yes, it works fast. Then otherwise this regulatory sandbox is...
Sorry, Priit, you're never getting that mic. Sorry.
No,
so, but I understand that it's a discussion we can continue later, but I understand the point of the sandbox is to reduce some of the regulations in a I understand, but it's to play through this how it would work. But okay, this is a separate discussion. Priit, please.
Yeah, like the market and country is a sandbox. So like we're gonna have a sandbox in a sandbox, you know. So like in a global scale, in even a Europe scale, the market size itself is a sandbox. So I think it's like the learning cannot be happen as let's go, all authorities go to school. No, it can only be like this testing and try out culture that we like embrace the idea that companies just try out these models and we constantly learn. But there's one paradox that I wanted to just point out regarding the setting the ambition. So what I sometimes see when I talk to companies is that the conventional investor typically says that get the lower hanging fruits, get the fast money. In deep tech, in health tech, that's often a problem because the fast money always is a very narrow part of the market, which is like has a glass ceiling. And if you have a pathway to take like the kind of long game, ambitious game, very clinical heavy game, or the fast game, let's say, and give an example of like consumer genetic tests, for example. Then you go to the consumer fast market, which is investor logic, typical investor logic. Then you might block actually the road to the real business in this space. And this is something a young company needs to be aware of and maybe even fight against when somebody says, but why not just go to private clinics and why not just go to what we got in 10 years ago, go to straight to consumer dermatology. Yes, it's there, but the market is 0.5% after 10 years and it has grown like slower than the overall dermatology market. So it's often the low-hanging fruits of generous from what the generous investor logic would give you is like more ambition is my message.
Martin, Madis, what is your experience with investors? Anything to point out?
I guess I agree with you, kind of. I have had like the opposites opinions. It really depends on the investor. Some investors are starting to argue that no, we should have like MDR class 2 clinical investigation, whatnot. So not the low-hanging fruits, and then there are like investors who are saying that but why you'd like this is so cool, why people don't buy it, and then you try to explain how the market works, and it's not like it's not like some ChatGPT that you just give out for free and go nuts. So, but in general, I think like there is sufficient amount of experience because there are a lot of health tech investors nowadays, and they all understand and they all know how the regulations work, at least like in higher level. and also have the experience of how companies operate in the health tech sector. So I don't see much of a problem in that sense. Everybody knows that health tech is not something that happens overnight, and they just have to deal with it. And if you get the money from investors, then in most cases they have already kind of understood that some of the budget will go to the regulation side as well. So shouldn't be a problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I feel like I already in my first speech then covered that part, but I feel like there is a very clear distinction between the generalists and the specialist investors, and the specialist increasingly now. I feel like they see the ambition, as Priit said. I think the ambition is a good definition to that. So if you hook up with the investor who has the sufficient ambition level, they're out there, I think. We are of course lucky that we started with angel funding. We found angel investors who were, invested enough to our ambition. But I feel like that's more, we got lucky, or it's more like not the rule.
Understood, Martin. Do you have any questions from the audience? Any comments from the YouTube comment section? Is there anything you would like to know? Yes, we have a question back there. Keiu or Tri, can you give the mic, please?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, I'm Liis Steinberg from LS Medical. I have also founded a medical company in Estonia 10 years ago for dentists. And my question concerning German market would be that, have you considered collaborating with the local, for example, Priit, you said that you lost the tender for competitors. Have you considered collaborating with some of the competitors? I know it was successful actually for some other companies who won tenders afterwards. They offered collaboration.
We didn't have this use case. The specific case, I mean, the project failed. They should have asked, but the project failed. No guarantee that we could have failed also, because we basically were the tender asked to start making like these exe files for like install files for doctors, so that 3,000 doctors, everybody gets like a CD and you put it in the computer. It's crazy. But competitor collaboration in Germany, there is, we are actually a co-founder of DigiDerma Campus, which is dermatology, ambulatory dermatology medical society, specialist society, erialaselts, who at some point were very open for these kinds of companies, and they brought them together, and the specialist society made these like very startup focused events, startups and like industry, like bringing them together. And we were in the first 8 and one of the co-founders for there, because we started to communicate with some dermatologists very long time ago, and we were in this community. So and this is I would say a good example where these synergies could happen, and we have like a little bit search for them, but I think the market is still not big and mature enough for this kind of innovation space. I mean, everybody works on the problem, but everybody takes a very, very different angle, and all the competitors are kind of also not competitors because they have taken a niche. So, but to be seen, yeah.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to add to that? Any specific experience to this question?
Yeah, we have actually thought about this kind of partnering up with the competitors, and especially in the blind aid market. It's like super fragmented. There are a million of apps, a million of different tools, and in most cases they're doing the exact same thing. They help them walk around basically. I'm not going into like this kind of AI glasses and color, recognizers and stuff like that, but in general, when I'm talking about my space, I think the biggest, like, kind of, from the economic point of view, the biggest problem is that in most cases, those competitors are as small as us. And if you put two poor companies together, then it's not going to do much. If you have like some big, massive competitor who is interested in your technology, then you're probably playing the buyout already. So two small companies working together usually doesn't do much in my experience and as much as I've seen.
Silja, did you want to add anything?
I have a quick question for Silja, if we have time or we don't.
Yes, please.
So maybe it's useful for others as well. Concerning RUP project, as much as you know and as much as you can comment, for medical startups who have to be in the space of, in terms of regulatory, so we are developing contrast agents, which is considered a drug in European Union. And in US, it's considered a medical device. So in 5 years, for example, our company will not have any revenue yet because we are still running clinical trials probably. Is RUP a kind of funding that you welcome us or other similar companies or not? Thank you.
It's a really broad question, to be honest, and I don't know in which TRL level you are actually at the moment. So to RUP, you are coming to TRL 4, I would say. So you should first think about that, and then also your self-funding criterions and all this stuff. But I think we can discuss it later. But actually, turnover or revenue is not criteria for RUP. You should only foresee it for some period of time. You should have really clear business plan in place. And this will be some part that will be evaluated ultimately, whether it's feasible and considering also the global market trends and your specific trends. So therefore, there is no like blocker as such, but of course there are relevant criterions. And we currently don't have really specifically like a health tech RUP coming up, or like we had like a food tech round separately for that. We don't have like a digital health tech round coming up, but all medical is all together in one big RUP. And next round is opening, the call is opening in end of January. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So we still can use about 5-10 minutes. I would open the discussion to the all audience as well, and you're welcome to chime in and give your perspective as well. This was briefly already mentioned by Silja, that how the ecosystem can help and what would be the role of the incubators, business accelerators, and so on. So when you're looking at the business processes now that you have, is there anything specific that this type of ecosystem players could do? Is there a sort of a wider issue that's not very specific to your own business plans that you think where the ecosystem in Estonia, or let's say in the Baltic Sea area or EU-wide developments, could support your business, could support the overall health ecosystem in Estonia or the Baltic Sea region or EU? Is there anything that can be done in a wider sense that would help really your business? And this is also open for anyone here in the audience as well.
I have a whole lecture on it.
Oh.
But like, so it comes from the, maybe you can listen to the last podcast episode with Erki Kadava, but it's about creative destruction. So the theory by Schumpeter in the beginning of 20th century. Now the last economic Nobel Prize, those Schumpeter fans got this prize for monetizing it. But anyhow, creative destruction, I don't know how many have heard this term. Yes, one. Okay, so very, very shortly. It's about, so it's a model how markets transform. You have You create a lot of new companies and you destruct old business model. Very simple example is taxi operators. So we don't have taxi operators anymore. We have Bolt or whatever you have in other continents. This doesn't happen in legacy sectors like healthcare and education and defense tech. Because the existing rules, regulatory culture, everything is so hard to destruct. The destruction doesn't happen itself, also in green tech. So basically what we have in Estonia is we have a lot of creation and ecosystem supporting creation. But we don't have, we are not thinking about old business operation model destruction that much. So, and this actually goes to the financing and reimbursement models. Everybody's talking about value-based care in healthcare, so that we buy for value, not pieces and fee for service. But we're currently at 0.1% of value-based care in Estonia. So the destruction has to happen in this core, and the destruction can come in, at least in healthcare, from what we pay for. And if we pay for utilization of face-to-face 20-minute visits, then there's no place for digital health and remote care or anything else. But that's the bulk of it. So we need to change this. Everybody's talking about it. Nobody fully knows how to implement it, but basically eyes on health insurance fund.
Okay, that's a good comment. Anyone else wants to add anything?
I will be also eagerly listening. What is the request to Enterprise Estonia side? What you expect from us?
So you are freshly coming from the other side, so you shouldn't be asking or giving orders. I think it still has a lot to do. I can only think of the sort of the real world use, and then the sort of making it easier. So it's still, I feel, the main obstacle. And obviously in the clinics, in bigger hospitals, it's very difficult to sort of disrupt the normal clinical work and to build something on it. So as I mentioned already, no one wants to disrupt the routine. And if it sort of, and that's in a way is our goal in the longer run, but it needs to be very gradual. So if we kind of can speed up this graduality in a way, then I think that would be something that, how to do it, then I think that's probably not, we don't have time for that. And I guess it can be difficult.
Much easier to destroy the taxi industry compared to healthcare.
I guess
we would might end up in a really, really bad situation if we do it in this way. So, yeah, go ahead. Actually, you can please comment.
I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I was just rambling already, so it's the last words.
Okay, and thank you. I just wanted to add one thing, because in summer I was in Estonia for this health tech week, and we visited the Tartu hospital. And now I don't remember the name, but there was a head physician that said in a panel as well that maybe also the physicians need to change, think a bit more in a way of technologies, and have this mindset change as a clinician as well. And I think that's also a really big part of this ecosystem, that we just get a lot of benefits if the clinicians start to think and to try out. And I see this much more in the Nordics, for example, also in Estonia after this wonderful panel in summer. And there's also a change in Germany, but I think this would be also really, really effectively a factor that we have much easier clinician studies and evidence, and the whole ecosystem would profit from it. That's just a comment from the ecosystem side.
And in Germany, no, DIGAs will be 25% value-based care. So by disruption, I mean enabling value-based care. So enabling business model changes, process changes. And the DIGA's, now the new law is going to be 25% value-based care. And there has been a whole discussion about value-based care and budget-based and bundled payments in hospitals in Germany. So right now, this is talked about in Estonia in the context of centralized care pathways, but no plan yet. So this is the ecosystem is there. I think the ecosystem is doing quite well and will do more and more. But it's not enough if the destruction of old business models, what the ecosystem builds for, if this doesn't happen. So if the old business models stay, we do a lot of creation, but they all will die or go to other markets. So that's the follow-up.
Well, maybe I had time now to think about like some bigger structural change in a sense that actually we have one resource that we are underutilizing like heavily, I would say, they are patients. And in a sense that we need to somehow figure out how the patient can do as maximum as possible by themselves. And we need to incentivize this activity, whether it's in prevention, whether it's following the care pathway, whether it's following the instructions, or whether it's following the follow-ups or all this stuff. So I think we are really focused on, exactly like Priit said, on this meetup with a doctor, but this we cannot continue. So we need to shift to patient and the community and the family as such, and like this kind of like outside of hospital activities. So there will be shift also, of course, to the social sector as well. But this we haven't even opened yet, this Pandora box, like how to restructure some of the services that we would need, considering what we'll be facing in 10, 15, 20 years in society. So I think this will be a huge change. How to implement it, I don't know. But I think the mindset should be there that let's just find a way how to utilize the patient self-activity more, how to incentivize it. Maybe it might be also, I don't know, some different incentives. It might be even tax incentives. It might be some reimbursement incentives. It might be different incentives, but we should be willing to open up this discussion actually. Yeah.
So to creatively destruct the reimbursement model.
Exactly, yeah.
Any other questions, any comments to the panel? If not, then I want to thank you all for coming here today, for joining this pre-Christmas discussion. And let's have some coffee and some food. Sorry, Daniela, we cannot ship any for you, but maybe next time you can join physically.
Next time, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.